If you're running Google or Facebook ads in 2024 and still relying on ad account attribution and not using a third-party tracker like Triple Whale, then you're literally setting your money on fire. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why that's the case and how to avoid that and how to actually scale in 2024 with one or more than one traffic source. So without further ado, let's hop in.
So before I give you a walkthrough of Triple Whale, I want to touch on why it's actually important to have a third-party tracking software. A third-party tracking software allows you to set up a baseline off of which you optimize campaigns, you allocate budgets to what's performing off of one baseline. Because if we take a look at, let's say, Google Ads, so the recommended attribution setting in 2024 is data-driven, which essentially means that it uses your account's conversion data to calculate the actual contribution of each ad interaction across the conversion path. And then the only other option you have here is last click. So it gives all the credit for the conversion to the last click tab. Now, these are the only two options you have on Google Ads in 2024. Now, if we look at Facebook ads, the attribution setting we can use is 7-day click-through or 1-day click-through and 1-day view-through or none. And that's pretty much it. So right away, this attribution setting is completely different to what Google offers, which means data will be viewed differently on both of these ad accounts.
At this point, you're probably wondering what's my baseline and which attribution setting should I select. Depending on how you want to look at data, you have different options here on Triple Whale, and most of them are useful for their own specific use cases. So what's good with Triple Whale, it actually tells you, who is it for and when to use it and why to use it. My preferred way is first click because it gives 100% credit to the first channel clicked, which means I understand on which ad platform, which campaign, which ad set, which ad was responsible for bringing in the customer in the first place. And then I can allocate as much budget as possible to the source of that first click because I want to know where do I get the highest possible ROI based off of the first touch point of a customer in the funnel.
In the beginning, when you start running an ad platform to your store, let's say it's Facebook ads, when you're only spending money on one ad platform, it's not as important to have third-party attribution because you're looking at money in, money out, and that's fine. The problem occurs when you start getting sales from other traffic sources, either paid or unpaid. So unpaid traffic sources like email, SMS, SEO, your social pages, those will start bringing in new sales to your brand, and Facebook might attribute those sales to the ads where in reality those sales might have come in without the help of paid ads. Even worse is when you're running two ad platforms at the same time, or let's say 3 or 4 ad platforms, which makes the things even more complex. So whenever you're running Facebook and Google Ads, let's say, the attribution becomes very foggy and you don't know where the actual sales are coming from. One ad platform might look a lot more profitable than the other one, so you allocate more budget to that ad platform and you actually take the budget from the other platform that might actually be bringing in the most amount of profits for a brand. To illustrate this point further, let's take a quick look at the first click attributed sales according to Triple Whale and the attributed sales according to Facebook ad account. The attributed sales from Facebook are way higher than the attributed sales from Triple Whale's first click data. So the difference is for 214% versus 860%, which, just looking at this right here, I would be like, well, let's, uh, double down on spending on Facebook because we're getting such a high ROI, when in reality, the ROI is much lower. So how it works is Triple Whale has access to your Shopify backend, and it can cross-check which customer that has bought and is being tagged by the UTM code, which of those customers are new customers because they have access to your previous orders, and which of those customers are returning customers. Because the point of running an e-com brand is acquiring new customers because that's how you actually grow. And you want to know which campaigns are bringing in the highest amount of new customers and what the new customer return on ad spend is. If, for example, you look at Facebook ad accounts or Google ad accounts, it reports on return on ad spend, which is a blended metric. And that means that it's also reporting the revenue coming from returning customers, not just new customers, which means that you're essentially spending money to reacquire a customer that's already your customer, which you could have converted, through email or SMS or what have you, without needing to spend any money on paid ads. With Triple Whale, you can essentially see, okay, let's say this campaign right here has a new customer return on ad spend of 1.3, and this one 0.2. So if I want to scale new customer acquisition, I'm not going to focus on this campaign. I'm rather going to focus on, improving this campaign, or run another test and try and find, new ads or new campaigns that are better at converting new customers, maybe come up with an offer for new customers, and then, focusing on that. But in order to scale a year over year revenue, you need to understand where new customers are coming from. And without a third-party tracking software like Triple Whale, you don't actually know which ads are bringing in new customers and what impact your ads have when it comes to new customer acquisition. Another great feature is also understanding organic sales from all these different traffic sources. Everything is being recognized by Triple Whale, so you know exactly, let's say Facebook pages are getting you the most amount of revenue. You can see, okay, if we grow our socials more on Facebook, we should expect more sales coming from there. So this is more of a long-term, organic game, but still you have a better understanding where the sales are coming from, because if you use Shopify, those analytics that they have, the dashboard, it's not really trustworthy. This is the creative cockpit, so I don't have it on this brand. It's pretty useful because it tells you on the creative level of a Facebook/Instagram ad, shows you the performance of that ad specifically. It's pretty helpful, especially if you're an agency owner working with clients, to show them on a very easy to consume way which ads are performing well without them needing to log into the ad account, which might be a bit confusing for some people. This is another pretty interesting feature where you can create segments of different customers. So core, loyal, whale customers. So these are the ones that have very high LTVs in the long run. So actually the core ones have a higher one. So yeah, you can play around with creating different segments, and then, for example, you can compare customers from Google Ads and Facebook Ads, what kind of a LTV they have in the short or long term. So for example, Facebook ad customers tend to have a higher LTV over a longer period of time. So the differences here are very low, but for example, if Facebook 365-day LTV was double the Google ones, this could potentially mean that you would be less reluctant to spend more on Facebook, even though in the short term it might not be as profitable as Google Ads, but knowing the longer term LTVs are higher, you might be more brave when it comes to allocating more budgets to Facebook, even though it might not be performing well in the beginning. Then we have the cohort analysis. So what I like to check here is, let's say, what happens with our LTVs throughout over time. For example, if we look at, usually people look at 3-month LTV, so it's about $86. So in essence, if we're able to acquire a new customer below $86, if we're looking at 3-month LTV, we are profitable in the long run. Now, what also Triple has is new customer payback. So when do we, on average, break even on new customer acquisition? And we're on average already breaking even on the first order. So we don't actually have to wait all to month 3 to break even on our acquisition. One thing to take into consideration is the fact that this is blended numbers. So your Facebook CPA, new customer CPA might be higher. Your Google Ads new customer CPA might be lower. This also calculates all the organic sales and everything. You also have to take a look at platform, new customer CAC if you want to be profitable in the short term, because this is blended metrics here. Then you have other features here that I don't use that often, but let's say understanding AOV. So what's the mean AOV, median? This is useful for calculating profitability on first touch point, let's say. Then you have the post-purchase survey. The post-purchase survey is essentially a double confirmation of where the sale comes from. It's very straightforward. So you have it embedded after someone has bought from you, and they ask them, where did you hear from us? So where the customer actually came from. And then they can select, let's say, Facebook or Google or what have you. And then they pair that answer to the pixel data, and then they attribute the sales to the right channel according to that. It's another way of confirming where the customer came from, making things more concrete. This is another section that I really like, and I'll give you a use case for it. So product analytics, it gives you the contributional margin per SKU. For example, this allows me to say, okay, this SKU has a high contributional margin, which means that it probably makes sense to push this product with ads. And you can also check the 180-day LTV. So which ones have healthy 180-day LTVs, and you can focus your ad spend and testing on SKUs that are bringing in the highest contributional margin, that have healthy 180-day LTVs. Now, this is mostly useful for brands that have a lot of product. If you're a one product brand, then this doesn't help you too much. But if you have a lot of products and you're deciding on which ones I should push, then this helps you make that decision, because the contribution margin per SKU. So this is really, really helpful.
With that being said, hope you enjoyed this video. Down in my bio, you can see a affiliate link to a 30-day free trial for Triple Whale. And make sure to like and subscribe my channel. It's going to help the algorithm show my video to more people and share the value with the rest. So thank you.